What is going on, everybody? Another edition of Closers, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. We've got problems in the AL East. We've got the MLB Top 100. We've got Mike Trout moving. And as usual, we have David Aardsma. DA, how are you, buddy?
I'm actually doing great, but I'm making James very mad, and Alex is upset with me. Alex is less upset, producer, but James is very mad at me. Sorry,
I'm
James.
not very mad at you. My biggest
Should be.
issue. Well, yesterday you told me, oh, don't worry, I'll be on early. We'll be able to test. And then what do? You come on a minute before and you have technical problems. So, as usual, I'm the jerk. Right?
No. Okay. One, I've actually, this is like the first time I've really had technical problems, right?
Did you say you were going to be on early?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm going to own all of this. I'm going to own all of it. And it's like the first time I've had technical problems, but this is why you get on early to solve technical problems. And I was on a video call show right before this, and that went long because they had technical problems as well. And then
because they're losers and they're idiots, it affects my show. You know what? You're banned from going on that other show from now on.
Well, the real problem is you need to ban me from my wife grabbing me as I'm coming over, and my wife needed help with a technical issue as well. And so I had to solve that before I got on air.
That's not a technical issue. That's a biological issue.
No. Well, okay. Yeah. However we want to call it, she needed help with something. I'm the man. I got that done. Got that solved. And then I started my day on TV. I'm sorry, people. I apologize. I'm apologizing, but I don't really mean it. But I do mean it because I'm a man of my word, and I wasn't my word today.
Okay. Well, let's get it started because I'm already agitated and I don't want to keep going. So
the best show is when you're pissed. Let's go. Hi, Carla.
Then this is going to be the greatest show in the history of the world then.
All right, let's go.
Let's get started. All right, MLB Network, they put out their top 100. I do not want to go through their top 100. Let's go through their top 25. I want David to take a look at it. Tell me who belongs there, who's a little too high, who's a little too low. So, Alex, let's get it started. Show us 25 through 20. Or 21, rather. So in the 25 spot, we've got Corbin Burns. In 24, the second-year player Jackson Merrill. In 23rd place, Julio Rodriguez of my Seattle Mariners. Number 22, Fernando Tatis. And 21, the third baseman for your Boston Red Sox, Mr. Rafael Devers. Ards, what are you thinking?
This is an interesting spot. My one that jumps on this list. Okay, one, respect Tatis. Julio Rodriguez, dude, when this guy's on, it's the best player in the world. When he's off, he's still pretty good. Jackson Merrill, first year, everyone's kind of ranking him high in a lot of lists and stuff. I love it. Dude, he should have been rookie of the year if there wasn't a guy named Paul Skeens, just doing unworldly stuff. I actually had money on Jackson Merrill being rookie of the year. Corbin Burns is absolute stud. I get it. I'm agreeing with this. And I actually think numbers will decline being a Diamondbacks, but that's just because the baseball world. Don't be angry with that, Diamondback fans. Don't be angry at the world because he's really good. Devers. I'm not a big fan of Devers. Led Major League Baseball in errors as a third baseman for the last 7 years. Should not be a third baseman. We'll talk about this later, but I think Devers is a little high compared to at least even Tatis. Tatis is better than Devers, I think. If I had put my money on who's having a better year, I'm probably going to have Tatis or Julio Rodriguez.
I'm a little shocked by where Corbin Burns is. He's proved to be an ace. I don't think his numbers are going to go down that much. And then when you see the other pitchers on this top 25, I think he's getting a little bit of disrespected. But we'll look further on. So let's look at 20 through 16. And Chris Sale. See, this is where I have a problem with Corbin Burns. I mean, Chris Sale had a great year, but he's always injured. I can't count on him. I would actually swap those two players. You let me know what you think. Zach Wheeler, number 19, such a good pitcher. Ketel Marte, number 18. Corey Seager of the Rangers at 17. And Ronald Acuna Jr., number 16.
I think Ketel Marte is really underrated. Again, 18 is still amazingly high, guys. We're splitting hairs here. really underrated. Look at his numbers last year, and you can make a very good argument for him at MVP, even with Ohtani. Ohtani did something record-breaking, amazing, first year ever doing it. Even with that, Cartel Monte had a arguably better year than Lindor, arguably better year than anybody else besides Ohtani and Judge. And it's really it's amazing because he's been like consistently getting better. It's not like he just had this blip. So that kind of bothers me when people kind of underrate him. I think it's because he's a Diamondback and he's a second baseman, and people just kind of disappear. Chris Sale, I do have the problem with. There's no question in my mind. Corbin Burnes is a better pitcher than Chris Sale. This isn't Chris Sale 10 years ago, and Chris Sale now, Cy Young winner. But like, are you expecting the same thing? Because that same thing is what basically Corbin Burnes does every year. I'm not disrespecting Chris Sale. To me, he's a number 25 guy, and Burnes is like, how Burnes is so consistent. It's like, are you expecting the same thing, Chris Sale? How do we look at Chris Sale and go, yes, we're going to get the same production? Because if he gets any worse, Burnes is better. Zach Wheeler's like top 3 pitcher in baseball.
Criminally underrated.
Yes.
What do you think about Ronald Acuna over there at 16?
Dude, I got Ronald. I made a personal list of this for MLB Network Radio, and I had Acuna at like 7.
Yeah, that's actually where I would have him. I can understand, though, coming off a second ACL surgery.
Yes.
You don't know what it is. But again, if all things are equal and he's healthy, he's, top 5 player.
100%.
All right, let's look at 15 through 11 now. And we got Paul Skeens, number 15. I'll let you talk about that. Number 14, Kyle Tucker of the Cubs. Number 13, Little Vladdy. Number 12, Bryce Harper. I got a major problem with this. And number 11, Tyreek Skubal.
I actually have no problem with anyone on this list. Obviously, Vlad is the one that kind of jumps up, and Kyle Tucker kind of jump up. Like, Tucker's good. I don't think Tucker's quite on this level consistently. Like, if you're telling me 13 and 14, Kyle Tucker and Vladimir Guerrero, and you're talking about like a dude that's going to make like $400 million and a dude that's like 25 a year, like come on. Like one guy's worth 40 and the other guy's worth about 25. And so do you tell me they're 1 point apart? Bryce Harper, I think this is a proper place right now for Bryce Harper at his career, knowing who's going to probably be in the top 10. Like, Bryce needs to make another step up. Like, he needs to come back a little bit to be back in that top 10. He just does. He does. I think Kyle Tucker is getting a lot of love here, probably a lot too much love. But I think this is right. And Paul Skeens, with what he did, if he does anything even close to that, like, I'm sorry, if he has like 2 more starts, he's the Cy Young winner. That's it. Like,
here's my problem with this. Number one, I think Bryce Harper is a top 10 player in baseball. I always will. There's some guys in the top 10 that I would actually swap with him. We'll take a look at that in a second.
I bet you would like to swap with him.
I'm sorry?
Huh?
No, I didn't hear what you said.
I said I bet you would like to swap with him.
I would love to swap lives with him. Are you kidding me? Rich, be young, have women. I'll take that any day of the week. Paul Skeens, though. I understand what he did last year, and he was phenomenal. But first year, didn't pitch a full season. And you're telling me that you have more confidence in a second-year pitcher than Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler, who's consistently been great over the last 3 or 4 years, who's perennially a Cy Young contender, and you would have Skeens over him right now? I know that at his peak, he is better than Zach, but just the consistency of Wheeler, and he's always excellent. I have a little problem with that.
That's a great point, and I respect it, and I'll never argue against it. I'm gonna have you 2 bets. Like, there's 2 ways to think about it. One bet: if you had to bet $100, who's going to win the Cy Young this year, Paul Skeens or Zach Wheeler?
I would say Skeens, because I think his ceiling is a little higher, and I also think that the publicity he gets helps him for the Cy Young.
Yes, 100%. I would say the same thing, but I would say this: like, floor and ceiling. Right now, Skeens' ceiling's way higher, but Skeens' floor is probably is lower too. You know what you're getting from Zach, and what you're getting is top 3 pitcher in Major League Baseball dude. I remember playing with him with Mets. Like, I didn't think this dude was going to be like this every year. Like, I thought he was going to be good, but like, this is great. Top 3 pitcher in baseball every year. I would flip him. I think I agree with you. At the same time, you're like, it's kind of hard to argue against either one of them.
No, it's very difficult. It's really, what you like better, which player you like better. But I'll tell you this, if I had the choice of getting one of the 2 pitchers for 1 year, knowing that I have a real legitimate shot at a World Series, I have to take Wheeler. I have to.
But here's the thing about too, like Tariq Skubal. Like, I did the same thing. I put Tariq Skubal in my top 10. Tariq Skubal's an absolute stud, but like, he had this monster jump where it's like, whoa. Like, and he's doing what he's doing. Wheeler's kind of doing like almost every year. A little better, but like, that's always an interesting one to me too. It's like, I did the same thing, but I believe in Tariq, but I like I'm comfortable with this. I think Tucker's probably 10 spots too high.
It's funny though, you mentioned that Kyle Tucker is so overrated by so many people right now. I was listening to MLB Network Radio the other day. Jim Bowden had him in his top 6.
Yeah. I think
people are in love with him right now, and he does a little bit of everything. And I know he's an all-around great player, but they're talking about this guy getting, $400 million next year, which I just don't see it.
I have a hard time with that one. It's interesting. Now, if he makes this a jump and does something like incredible, okay, but like, I've got him in a great spot. I mean, as a corner outfielder, I've got him the 4th best corner outfielder in baseball right now, probably ahead of Burns. Sorry, Corbin Carroll. I got my Corbins mixed up, and Tatis and Jaron Duran, because he hasn't done it enough. Churio, Santander, Stephen Kwan. Like, okay, but like, I don't think that's a $400 million range, because like, there's a big jump, I think, between Kyle Tucker and Acuna. Healthy Acuna and him is a massive jump.
Huge. All right, let's move on. 10 through 6, please. All right, which I mislabeled. Number 10, they have Gunnar Henderson. I think that's a little interesting. Number 9, Jose Ramirez. Number 8, Freddie Freeman. Number 7, Yordan Alvarez. Number 6, Francisco Lindor. So I look at Freddie Freeman. I think he's a little too high. I would actually put Gunnar over there. I would flop him. I wouldn't have a chance. And I would actually flip Jose Ramirez and Yordan Alvarez. I think Ramirez is better than Alvarez.
This is really interesting. I didn't have Lindor in my top 10. I didn't have Yordan in my top 10. And I think I might have missed the boat on Yordan. But again, I'm looking at my top 10. I'm like, no. I had Jose, J-Ram, I had him at 4. And I had Gunnar at 5. Same as you, apparently. And so I love it. I love it because you're doing such a great job, and just one little number, and you'll never forget it, and it's gonna be in your head so much. Yordan is so underrated, so good, but again, like, at the end of the day, he's not a great left fielder. He's a DH, and he's gonna end up being a DH, right? Like, and Freddie was overrated. Now, at this point in the career, he's a leader. He's a good hitter. He adds to what they do, and he's just really solid. But he's like a 15-20 guy now. That's not taken away from him. It's just like, how do you say he's better than Gunnar when Gunnar just like offensively and defensively just blows him out of the water? Like, Jose Ramirez is literally the only reason that team even makes the playoffs every year and what they do. And like, if you had them in the lineup, like J-Ram versus Freddie, like, the Dodgers lineup would be incredibly better. And I think Lindor is a great player, but like, in the last like 3 years, he'd been really so until last year. He'd been good, not top 10, but not top 10 good, not top 6 good. He's a top 10, 12 player, and then last year he had an amazing year. And I just don't know if that's going to be Lindor. That's the best year of his entire career. I don't think that's Lindor. I think Lindor is a little below that. And to me, that jumps him right out of the top 10. Because if I had to go Lindor or Ellie De La Cruz, or Lindor or Mookie Betts, or Lindor and Acuna or Marte, like, Marte's numbers were arguably better than Lindor. And they're years apart on this list.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I can
Like
see that.
Bobby Witt Jr., Jose Ramirez, Gunnar Henderson, like they all had numbers that were borderline better and were more important in some ways. And I don't know. I'm not arguing it, but I'm like maybe like 4 places too much. But Freddie should be out of the top 10 at this point. And Jordan, I can't argue with anyone on the list. I do think J-Ram and Gunnar should be higher. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, if you take Freddie out of the top 10, I put Bryce Harper in there, and I think that's much better placement for both of them.
Okay, yeah, and I move Acuna in there, and I don't know who their top 5 is. So for me, like Acuna, Betts, Ellie, like Ellie does need to make a jump up. Ellie needs to step up, but like, dude, like there's no one else in baseball that has better tool set. And if he takes a little jump, and he's arguably he's a top 10 easy.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the final 5. And here we go. We got Mookie Betts at 5, Juan Soto at 4, Bobby Witt at 3, Aaron Judge at 2, and Shohei Ohtani at number 1.
Can't argue with this. Can't argue with it. I do think Mookie. I think Mookie may be a little high because I think Mookie, when you look at it and you go, he is still really, really good. Like for me, he's a 9. But like if there's no Shohei, and it's just Mookie and Freddie, that offense is really slowed down a lot. And he's really good. But like his best years are now a little past him. Just a little. Yeah. Just like a hair past him. I don't think he's getting better to me. And like Juan, I can't argue with it. I can't argue with it at all. I had him at 6. Just because I think defensively he's a liability.
Yeah.
Like in all reality, like defensively, he's a liability. Offensively, he's a great secondary piece. I think that's the thing about Juan Soto. What makes Juan Soto so good is he is Scottie Pippen, is that he can do everything. But if the offense has to go through him, it becomes dead because his like ability of getting on base and causing problems become nothing because you have nothing behind him. And so to me, that's the only problem with Juan Soto. You have to have a secondary player. Shohei, Judge, Bobby, Mookie, like J-Ram, like all these guys can take over games.
Yeah.
Juan's taking over games is to work 2 walks and get a double, and and like that double matters, but the walks and like like excitement. And then the next guy comes up and hits a 2-run jack. And you go, it all started with Juan Soto. But like without the dude behind him, you're like, great walk. Like, but like Betts, all these guys take over games on themselves. Juan Soto can, but I think Juan Soto's greatest tool set is that guy before the guy before the dude that gets him in.
Juan Soto is an A- player, but his greatest ability is to make all the B players around him into A- players.
And to make an A- player into the A+ of the world. And that, dude, that's oh my God, who was on the Lakers that was like on the Lakers with like Kobe and stuff, and he has like 7 rings. What?
Pau Gasol?
No, he's like point guard. Anyways, like, but we all need that player, and his Juan Soto is the greatest player in Major League Baseball that I've ever seen at making other players, minus once Jeter left the game, making other players better, and that's what he does without being a catcher. He makes everybody else in that lineup better. And like you put, like again, we watched what Judge did with him. He had arguably one of the best seasons in Major League history. And I think a lot of that had to do with Juan Soto right in front of him saying, good luck, like pitch. Or right behind him at times. Like all that. Like you have to pitch, and then Aaron Judge takes that next step. Like, and that's gonna be what happens with like Lindor and
Pete Alonso.
Pete Alonso, like that next step, like, dude, like that's why he's like screaming, sign Pete Alonso. You don't realize he's an A- player that's going to become an A+ player, and and Lindor is like an A player, A+ player that's going to become like an A+ player because all of his at-bats are going to look so much better and easier and smoother when you got Juan Soto standing there.
It's funny because Lindor, who's an excellent player overall now, could become a Hall of Fame player around Soto. Like he could actually protecting him in the lineup could give him such a great opportunity to become a Hall of Famer. That's one of the best things I've ever heard, because that is 100% true. Dude, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
when Lindor makes that jump from like really good player who's now stepped up with the Mets and leading the team to a Hall of Famer, Juan Soto's the dude that makes it happen. And like, we're going to look back and go, Lindor, obviously Hall of Famer, man. Great job. And we're not going to lose in that conversation the dude before him, like,
it's because they're going to go into
Mark
the Hall
McGwire and Canseco would be hitting solo home runs if it weren't for Ricky, and like, we look at those things and like, there's players that make other players so much better. Like Mariano Rivera wouldn't be Salmon, the only guy with 100%. If he didn't have one of the best pitching staffs ever for years and years and years, giving him wins, and the lineup giving him wins and saves, like the team, you have to have the team. And like, there's players that can, like Ken Griffey Jr. didn't need anybody. Like there's players that didn't. Shohei don't need anybody. Shohei's literally half a team. Anybody. But like Bobby Witt Jr. seen like doesn't need like there's guys, they're just like Bobby Witt's like Lindor. This year is like Bobby Witt, his first year, right? Like we're seeing like, holy crap, they're on the same timeline. Like when Lindor entered the league, but I think Bobby Witt has more tools. Sorry, I'm talking so much. I'm really excited about this topic. This is awesome. But you said it got perfect. Like Lindor's going to be a Hall of Famer because of Juan Soto.
I was trying to make a case for it and I couldn't, but maybe you can. Is there any way that Bobby Witt Jr. is the second best player in baseball over Judge?
Yes. And that the idea of that is a complete player where Judge, damn it. No, I'm trying so hard. No. The really argument comes in the fact that he's shortstop. He is the premier position on defense. Shortstop. He's putting up offensive numbers across the board that's in line with Judge. Across the board, right? Like Judge there's blips, but there's blips on both sides. Both of them have blips above the other. And so if you kind of look at it like from a fantasy baseball standpoint, home runs get you points, but then also like all these other things get you points, they're probably really close to even because of that. And that's, for me, it's the completeness of Bobby Witt in the prime premier position versus the home run and driving inability. But we've also seen Judge without other guys in the lineup, his numbers become very pedestrian to what we expect. Right. And Bobby Witt doesn't need those guys. Like Bobby Witt's at that numbers. The problem with Judge is now he's going to get the Trout treatment where we go, oh, you hit 45. Oh, like, you drove in 100. Like that's what happens when you don't have, like, when you're not hitting 62 now with Aaron Judge, you go 50. Good year. Like, yay. Versus like 62, like, and Shohei's doing everything historic. Like, that's what's going to happen to Judge. You're going to see him hit 50 and you're going to be like, solid. Yep. Versus like, dude, this is the best year. He's not even going to win the MVP, or like he'll be second, like, because some guy did something weird and you're like, that year was amazing.
I don't want to get into this too deep because we got a lot to talk about today, but I got a quick who you got. Are you ready? Before the second ACL surgery, Ronald Acuna or current Bobby Witt Jr.? You can have one. Which one you want?
Acuna. No, Bobby Witt Jr., the position. Only the position. That shortstop, everyone's going to look at totally different. Like, but
47.
Acuna, like, I think could do more offensively. Acuna could do more offensively. Bobby Witt position, and what he loses on offense isn't enough. Like, it's the position jumps him. That's why I gotta take a shortstop. I just have to, with those type of things that he can do. And him and Gunnar, dude, I'm taking Bobby Witt over Gunnar, but just because you saw what Bobby Witt did with the Royals and how he's made that team like a real legit team.
I bought 4 baseball cards this week. 3 Bobby Witts and 1 Gunnar. That's
a good purchase.
That's who I'm going after. All right. Before we move on to our next topic and talk about a player who is perennially in the top 100, on the top 25, but isn't anywhere near there this year, I just want to remind you all, if you like me, and please say you like me because nobody does, hit the like button, subscribe, make me feel good about myself. David, he gives me problems. He shows up late.
I do.
He's always talking about his wife
I
and all the
apologize.
things that they do, making me feel jealous. So please like and subscribe to the channel. Make me feel good.
Oh my God.
All right, now that I'm done begging, let's talk about Mike Trout, who is not near the top 25 because injuries have derailed his career, even though he's still ultra valuable in the collector's market. But he is switching positions. He's going from center field to right field. Is this the right position switch for Mr. Trout?
Yes. Yeah,
Really?
I'm glad it's not DH too. Right, I'm glad it's not DH. Obviously, the Angels lineup or the Angels roster, how they're built, like Jorge Soler's the DH and all this stuff, but it's the right move. I love it. We need to get Mike Trout on the baseball field. I don't care how it happens. I don't care what we do. Mike Trout needs to be on a baseball field, and baseball is better because of it. And so, do anything, man. Just Mike Trout, please play baseball. That's it. I don't care how you do it. Like, play baseball.
I would have loved to have seen him move to first base. My problem is he's still going to be running in the outfield. He's still going to crash into walls. He's still going to do everything. I know they have a first baseman right now, but you got Mike Trout. And if you're ever going to trade him, put him at first base, get him healthy. We saw that the market for first baseman isn't huge. There's not a lot of first basemen out there. He becomes more valuable if he goes to first base. So why not move him there where he's going to have less of a chance to get injured? I don't know if he can play the position, but like Brad Pitt said in Moneyball, it's not that hard.
Yeah, and Ron Washington immediately said it's extremely hard. And Ron Washington might know a little something about the Angels as well. So I look at that and go, I don't disagree with you. To me, with Mike Trout, I think you have to limit everything you're doing with him and just keep him on the field. I can't say it enough. You have a very interesting team this year. You brought in Tim Anderson, you got Yoan Moncada, Jorge Soler. You're making these moves. Like, you have an interesting team, and you have some of the very best young talent in baseball. And you're talking about Hoppy, and you're talking about
Shamwell.
What?
Nolan Shaniel.
Yeah, Zach Neto is really what I was going to go with.
Zach Neto's good too.
Said Zach Neto, dude. Don't say good. Like, this dude is. You're going to know his name. America will know his name in a couple years. This guy is an absolute stud. So Shamwell, good. But the problem is the Angels need to see these dudes play, and they need to be in their positions because once you have a first baseman, DH is your only spot to go, and you can't move Trout there yet. Soler is essentially rent-a-player-ish. So if I have Trout, I'm going him there to DH or there to first, and just letting him hit. And I love it. Trout, again, like, you don't really hear him say a single word about it. He's like, I want to play baseball, man.
Do you think that this is the audition for the Phillies? Because I think so.
For Trout?
Yeah. There's a lot of people saying that Trout's going to end up in Philly this year.
That's an interesting thing. Who is Philadelphia's right fielder right now?
Doesn't matter. You move whoever the hell it is for Mike Trout.
I can't remember. It absolutely does. Like, because at this point, it's Nick Castellanos. He ain't going anywhere. Like, he's not going anywhere right now.
But if you platoon him a little bit in right, a little bit at first, and a little bit at DH,
you got Max Kepler in left. That's not bad. Like, I would move Castellanos to left, Trout to right if I had to do this. My problem is you just became a very right-handed lineup. You got Marsh, you have Bryson Stott, you've got Harper, obviously Schwarber. So you got a mixed up lineup there. My problem with Philly, you got to be healthy, and I like it though. I think Trout, it'd be good for him to go home. Good to go home and play 3 years, 4 years healthy, hopefully, like, and then watch him play at home and then roll into the Hall of Fame as an Angel.
It's so funny. 8 or 9 years ago, we were just begging to see a World Series between Mike Trout and Bryce Harper, and now they could end up on the same team going to a World Series if that trade ever happened.
Yeah, and again, and I don't even know what the Angels would even get, because a lot of it would probably be eating contract for Philly. I think it'd be a great move. Again, like, you're going to sell jerseys. Oh my God. In Philly, you're going to sell so many jerseys that just do the trade, like give up whatever they need and eat the money. If you just eat the money, you might get Trout. If you just say, hey, I'll eat the money, it's interesting. It's really,
it won't cost you anything. If you say I'm willing to take on the whole contract, it'll cost a bag of baseballs. I think they're willing to move that contract right now.
It's just the guy and it's the man. It's like, he's the Angels.
Yeah.
Like, he is the Angels. And so that's the biggest hard part of it. Like, do you lose your fan base? I don't think you necessarily do. I think they need to cut Rendon, eat the contract, and move Trout and start where they're at right now and see what they have with some of these young players and build them up and see, kind of go Oakland a little bit.
And if you saw my last episode of Rookies to Relics, you saw that I am really high on buying Mike Trout cards right now. His value couldn't be any lower. So if you're looking for a nice little baseball card, go out and get a Mike Trout.
Hey, Alex, thank you I just read the comment. Derek Fisher, definitely who I was thinking of. Derek Fisher with all the rings. Like, he was like the role player that he was really, really good and got everybody going. As far as we're talking about Juan Soto, I'm way behind on that conversation, but
don't give Alex any kudos. It goes to his head. Just because Clippopotamus has that beautiful show, Ask Clippy Jones, that knows everything about basketball. We don't need to promote Clippy Jones. He does that himself because Clippopotamus is the man.
Yeah, and the amount of retweets Clippopotamus Jones gets is pretty impressive.
It is indeed. We were talking about Mike Trout switching positions because that's what a good teammate does. But there's a couple of guys in the Northeast who may not be good guys, and I love to hear your point of view on this. So we have Marcus Stroman and Rafael Devers, who neither one of them want to switch positions. Stroman was asked to go to the bullpen possibly. He says, no, I'm a starter. And Rafael Devers says, no, I'm a third baseman.
Yeah, he definitely didn't say it like that. I don't think guys from the Dominican or is Devers Dominican or is he Curacao?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't think he's Curacao, but they definitely don't say it in a Hispanic Mexican accent. But
do. Leave me alone.
Okay, let's tackle this.
Right, hold on, let me try it again. Bobby, I know moving to third base, man. That shit crazy. Is that better?
Closer.
Okay, good.
Closer. Devers. To me, this is I don't blame Devers for wanting to stand up for his role and his position, but it should be quiet. It should be behind the doors. This is Astros 2024.0 or 2.0, whatever it is. You had Ryan Presley as a closer and you bring in Josh Hader. You don't talk to Ryan Presley before you bring in Hader. Like, you have a closer and then you bring in a closer. Then you tell your closer, we're going to move you without asking him, without talking to him, like without having any of these conversations. You're not just a team. You're also men. You have to have a conversation with your players and like you telling them how much team matters and organization matters and culture matters. And then you tell them on the flip end, you just have to do what we say. There's a breaking point there. I don't think the Red Sox had a conversation with Devers, or if they might have, before they signed Alex Bregman. If you sign a third baseman, talk to your career long-signed third baseman before you bring your third baseman in. And you sign him to this huge contract. Like, to me, it just blows my mind. What are you doing? Have the conversation. If Devers like, I'm not moving, well, then you have to talk to Alex and say, if we sign you, are you comfortable going to second base? And then you tell the media immediately, we're signing him. He's playing second base. Like Devers, we believe in Devers at third. We're improving, and you have a plan. They don't have these plans, and you bring in the player without talking to the other guy. That's the biggest problem, I think, in this. I have no problem with Devers actually kind of stepping up and saying, hey, I want to play third, but that should be behind closed doors. To the media, he should be saying, I want to help the team where I should be, where the team needs me, all this stuff. Like, it's also we're coddling these guys. Like, you're coddling them and you're not being stand up at the same time. If he's a baseball player, he should play wherever we tell him to play. You're the front office. You're the team. You should tell him. He doesn't have to be happy. He doesn't have to like it. Your job is to play baseball, and your job is to play baseball where we tell you to play baseball. At the same time, be a team, be a culture, be an organization. Breslow, like, have the conversation first. And maybe he did, but he should come out and say, hey, we had talked to Devers. He wasn't necessarily happy with it. We still thought better move. And like, Craig Breslow is one of the smartest men I know.
Yeah.
To tell me he didn't think about talking to Rafael Devers, like, okay, it's crazy. So he either chose to talk to him or chose not to, like, purposely. But he also didn't have a plan when signing Alex Bregman and saying, Alex Bregman is our position. Add position here. Left field, right field, center field, whatever. I don't care. DH, first base, second base. You have to have that plan. Like Craig Breslow, how do you not have that plan? Or at least articulate the plan. Maybe that's the problem. And so Devers needs to step up and say, I'll play anywhere. Because the thing about it is, I don't like Alex Bregman and what the Astros did. I don't like it. I've always hated it. But the problem is that the dude is coming in saying everything perfect. God dang it. And it bothers me so much because I want to hate Alex Bregman so much for being a cheater. And he comes in and says, dude, I'll play anywhere. Second base, I don't care. I want to be a Red Sox. God damn it.
Well, that's what he should say.
I don't want to like you.
Like you said earlier, Rafael Devers is the lifelong Red Sox. He was the guy that said, I'm going to sign long-term over here. And he said, I'm going to be the third baseman here for a long time. It's like when the Yankees got A-Rod, they didn't tell Jeter to move, even though A-Rod was the better shortstop.
Yes.
So why would you ask Rafael Devers to move if you didn't have the conversation with him? For as smart as Craig Breslow is, and he went to Yale. I love the guy. I've met him many times, spoken to him many times. Very smart man. That was the stupidest thing he did, signing a player without talking to your number one player on your roster in Devers.
Yes, and that's the problem. Like, that's when teams don't think this stuff out. Like, yeah, I get it. You put the money up for Bregman 100%. You go get Bregman. But you have to have a plan on where Bregman's going to play. And that, like, how many times have we seen this and just not sat back and thought about it? Like, no, like,
now let's talk about another guy. Yeah, let's talk about Marcus Stroman.
And the problem here is you are a rental player. Like, you got signed for what, a 2-year contract or whatever it is. You got brought into a 2-year contract to start, and you didn't put up the numbers. You didn't do it. It's not this long-term deal. You are not a Yankee for life. You didn't come up through the Yankees. Get the hell over yourself. At that point, you're still making the money and you're still pitching. It's not like you're still there. You have to earn your position. You still have to earn your role. And like Devers, same thing. You still have to earn your role. The problem is they committed to Devers years, and he's their guy. You have to have the conversation before you just piss him off. I don't think they give a shit if they piss off Stroman, and I wouldn't care either. No. And it's nothing to do with my personal feelings about Marcus or as a guy or whatever. You're the 5th guy in the rotation who didn't earn the job, who's not doing the 5th man job. And as a 5th man rotation, you're always borderline out. And he's borderline out right now. And so that's the thing. He's not fully out. He's still borderline. If he comes in spring training and deals, earn your fucking job. And we'll have a conversation about who moves to the bullpen. Or if we go 6-man rotation. Dude, I've seen guys pitch well enough to go, I don't want to move anybody. And like the Dodgers might do it. Like, there might be a lot of teams that do this. But right now, Marcus Stroman, step the F up. Like, he showed up the first day for physicals, then he left, and then he comes back, and everyone's like, yeah, but he's a good guy, guys. Like, he did all the right things in New York. I like everyone's like, he did all the right things. Like, okay, so he did the bare minimum. Like, he did what we expect everybody to do. He didn't do anything above that. Like, he's top step when everyone wants to watch him top step. When the camera's on him, he's top step. When the camera's off of him, he's not top. When people aren't watching, he's not top step guy. He's like, he talked about how like he needs to think about all the best things in life that he needs to focus on. He sent an Instagram post or X post out, and they showed his child, and then they showed him drinking wine on a yacht, and then he showed himself like at his pool by himself, and then he showed his child again. You're like, kind of might be seeing mixed messages here. Like, show yourself with your child, all 4 pictures, maybe. Just maybe. But so like he wants the acknowledgement of saying like, I'm here, look at me. At the same time, he is not earning the look at me part. And you're on your 5th organization now, or whatever the F it is. Speaking from a guy who's had some different organizations with a way less career than you, sometimes we show up with a smile on our face, Marcus, like you always do, and say, I'm going to earn a job, guys. I'm here to play baseball, and I'm still getting paid $20 million. Dude, go earn your job and pitch where they tell you to pitch. And I'll tell you what, I've been in that locker room. Brian Cashman walked in that locker room and said, my job is to make the best team the Yankees can ever possibly be. Your job is to play baseball. When you play baseball really well, you're either going to play for us and help us, or you're going to play for someone else. It might not be in the role you want, but you are going to be helping somebody. And he goes, if you're playing good baseball, you're going to make good money. And if you're making good money, you're going to have a great career and have a great life and have a great life for your family. But he goes, you play baseball, I put team on field. I put team on field however I want to put team on field. Your job is to play baseball. That's it. That's Marcus Stroman, dude. Get over yourself and just play baseball where they tell you go. Be like, hey, here's how you do. Ready? I'm Marcus Stroman. You're the media. And you say, hey, David, or hey, Marcus, what do you think about being in the bullpen? Go for it, James.
Hey, Marcus, what do you think about being in the bullpen?
Oh, man, you know what? To be honest, I want to be a New York Yankee. And if it happens to be in the bullpen, it happens to be in the bullpen. But I'll tell you what, I've been working my butt off. I've been prepping. I've been preparing. I've been watching video. I've been working on my stuff. I am locked in to earn that fifth starter job. But at the same time, Brian Cashman's got to do what Brian Cashman's got to do. If I go if I'm in the rotation, I'll be the best pitcher Marcus Stroman can ever be. If I'm in the bullpen, I'm going to kick butt, and I'm going to try to at the same time earn my job back in that rotation at every single opportunity I can. I hope everybody pitches well. I want the Yankees to win the World Series, and I will be holding a ring and a championship trophy at the end of the year, whether it's in the rotation or in the bullpen. But in my personal experience, I want to be in the rotation, but that's not my job. My job is to pitch, and I will pitch for the New York Yankees.
Fail on your part, because I didn't hear anything about Jesus or the good Lord willing. And if that was in there, it would have been the perfect speech.
Okay. And I will pitch, and I will do everything in my power, good Lord willing, heart over height, to be in the rotation.
Now that's a 100% answer right there.
Sammy?
You just passed PR 101.
Thank you.
There you go.
But that's not hard to do, and that's what God damn it, Alex Bregman did. But that's not hard to do, dude. And you're still making 18, 20 million. I don't even know what you're making. And just put a smile on your face and say, dude, I want to be in the rotation, but I will pitch. And I don't care where I pitch, I'll pitch.
You still told everybody that you're disappointed you're not in the rotation. If you just went out and said, you know what? Truthfully, I worked my whole life to be a starter. I love being a starter. It's what I believe that I'm meant to be. So I can't say I'm not disappointed. However, I'm a Yankee and I want to help the team win. If they give me the opportunity to start again, I'm going to do everything that I can to help the team win. And if I don't, I'm still going to help the team win. Boom, done.
And let's talk about dude, I worked my butt off. I'm going to earn the job.
He's not going to work his butt off. We know that.
You don't earn the job because you sign a contract. You earn it by pitching and by playing. And the same thing, Devers should be like, dude, I want to be a third baseman. I love playing third base for the Boston Red Sox. I know I need to get better at fielding, but you know what? I want to earn the job. And I love Alex. I'm going to come in, I'm going to work my butt off, and I'm going to earn the job. But also, where the Red Sox play me, I'm going to play and I'm going to hit, and we're going to have a great year, and we're going to win a World Series. Dude, it's so easy, and nothing changes. And then you know what the Yankees do? The Yankees can't say anything about you.
No,
they can't talk bad about you. They can't behind closed doors oh, he's a bad guy. No, you just said everything perfect. Everyone's gonna go on the team. It's dude, what do you got on? They're like, well, wants to play. How can I be mad? What are they gonna say about you?
I really wish you were in New York this week, because if you would have seen me in my car yelling at the radio, listening to WFAN when they're saying how dirty Marcus Stroman. How they did Marcus Stroman dirty. I'm like, dude, you don't know a damn thing about what you're talking about. You would have broken your radio.
How do you do him dirty? You're paying the man to play baseball for you, and he didn't earn a starting job, and you signed somebody else. That's the thing. If Ryan Presley, you talk about the Astros situation. If Ryan Presley had a very mediocre to bad year, and you're like, we signed arguably the best left-handed reliever in the history of baseball, everyone back, Brian Presley, okay, I lost my job. Versus, I had a very good year, and you signed somebody who had the same year as me, if not worse, and he's taking my job. We need to talk. That's a problem. And without dude, you lost the job, man. I gave you competition. You lost the job.
It's like when the Mets signed Mike Piazza and cast aside Todd Hundley, who held the Mets record for home runs. I mean, you had a great year, but you still, you're losing your job to someone who's significantly better. Hate to tell you.
But you're still going to hit, right? Like you can still move people around and like, all right, go to DH. Like, and you know what? He's going to DH one day. Or, well, I guess back in the day, no. But like, you can't just move him around. There's no more DH back in the 2000 Mets.
Do you know what would really help Marcus Stroman? You want him to be a top line starter? He should go to Top Velocity Pro. Yes. David, tell me about Top Velocity Pro.
This is the ad here. Top Velocity Pro, where I train baseball players, make you better, the best baseball player you'll ever be in your life. Learn about your body, learn how to move right, learn how to pitch, how to add pitch velocity is one of the big things, how to use your body, how to stay healthy, and gosh darn it, just be a better baseball player and play wherever Brian Cashman tells you to play.
I love it. Before we move on to this week's Mount Rushmore, I saw an intriguing article the other day, and I'm thinking that all of this Yankee drama could have been gone if Brian Cashman had made one itty-bitty deal that nobody's talking about, which when I spoke to you yesterday, you completely disagree, but that's okay. You're allowed to disagree with me. You're allowed to be wrong once in a while. The Yankees had the opportunity to trade their AL Rookie of the Year, Luis Gil, for Kyle Tucker. And you would have had Marcus Stroman as your fifth starter. Yes, you would have lost a better starter, but you would have gotten someone who is considered the top 5 all-around player in baseball to go along with Judge. David, tell me why you didn't like this idea.
So straight up, again, we talked about Kyle Tucker, a lot of respect for him as an outfielder, and the Yankees needed one more outfielder. They need Kyle Tucker. It has nothing to do with Kyle Tucker. It's a lot more to do with the dynamics of being a general manager in contract situations. You have, what did we talk about? 5 years of control on the number 2 Rookie of the Year, right? Is he number 2?
No, he won Rookie of the Year.
Oh, Rookie of the Year. Sorry, Rookie of the Year winner. You have 5 more years of control on the Rookie of the Year winner as a young starter in New York, or you have 1 year of control on a good outfielder. To me, it doesn't make any sense. The problem is my initial immediate no to this is that if you actually put Gil on out there to the market, you will get a lot more than Kyle Tucker, or you'll get more value than just Kyle Tucker can give. Hell, like if they had offered him to the Astros would be like, okay, and what else? That's my problem. Like they would have added a lot more. 1 year of Kyle Tucker control is not worth 5 years of the Rookie of the Year. Understand, I actually think there's issues with his delivery, and I'm not excited about the delivery, and there might be some problems there that need to be cleaned up. So I don't think he's going to be healthy forever. But you have the Rookie of the Year, you can shop that around, dude. Like you can get a lot more than just 1 year of Kyle Tucker. Now you might get a lesser player who you've got a lot more control of, and you hope they get better and become Kyle Tucker, or you can get Kyle Tucker and say, okay, as long as we can negotiate with Kyle Tucker and sign a long-term deal, dude, totally different. Like locking in years, because like if you can get 5 years of service out of Kyle Tucker, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm making that trade because like if Gil turns out to be a great player, he's equivalent to Kyle Tucker. Like that's what you want. And I never understand that when you're like, hey, I'm not going to trade this prospect for this known player. I'm like, but if the prospect becomes good, he is the known player. So get the known player. Anyways. So that's my problem with the trade. I love the idea of it. I love Kyle Tucker in the lineup. Yay, Kyle Tucker in the lineup for 3 more years. Even better. But they can get Kyle Tucker and a prospect and something else for Luis Gil.
I'm just looking at Aaron Judge's age and knowing that he does not have many more years at his peak. So I'm trying to win him a World Series now while I still can. And Kyle Tucker this year gives you a better chance than Luis Gil. I understand your point, and I agree with you to a certain extent. I'm the one who always wants to trade high, and you're not getting maximum value for Kyle Tucker. But I think in this situation, maximum value for Luis Gil. But in this situation, I think it's a trade that you should have made. But I also understand why Brian Cashman wouldn't have made that trade because he got burned last year. He thought, I'm going to give up players for Juan Soto, and because he's a Yankee, he's in the Bronx, we're going to be able to keep him. Yeah, it's not the case anymore, unfortunately. So I understand why Brian Cashman didn't make the move, but I think for this 1 year, it would have been a much better situation for the Bronx Bombers.
Yeah, and again, I think this 1 year, and I agree with you. It's just open market, dude. Like you would get a lot more. You would get a lot more. You'd get a package. You'd get a good package for Heel. I'm not as good on that market side as like what would you get, but I do know, like, to me, it's just when people throw those trades out, I think a lot of people don't sit back and go as a GM, like, we've got major league minimum for 2 more years, an arbitration for 3 years versus 1 year. Like it doesn't add up to them financially, and that's how you lose jobs is playing for that. That's like Dave Dombrowski 101. How do you Dave Dombrowski this situation? You trade the rookie of the year for 1 year of control of a player and go for the title, and then you leave and just go somewhere else and do it again.
Except Cashman never leaves. They
No,
just won't
Cashman
get rid
doesn't.
of him.
That's because like the Yankees have been really good for a long time, and Cashman's been the centerpiece. The only thing that's been around has been Brian Cashman. Like I get it. He walked into a great situation back in the 90s, like around the Yankees. Like he walked into the situation. He had a lot to do with helping build it up. But at the end of the day, dude, like you can't trade rookie of the year for 1 year of control, like unless it's Ohtani. Like you have to be Ohtani or Judge or maybe Soto. And even then, like you're trading, even then you're like, you have to be like, you have to be literal game changer, and Tucker will help the team and be very good, but he's not game changer.
All right, what do you say we forget about the Yankees, the AL East for a little while, and we talk about some of the great players in the history of baseball? Let's take a look at the Cincinnati Reds Mount Rushmore. David, who is your first Mount Rushmore player?
God, I love the Mount Rushmore. I love this is so fun. All right, my first player, the Reds Mount Rushmore. Again, this is one of those classic organizations that had like so many years of just amazing runs of great players. A lot of them are going to be like, like 70s on, and like really good players. Like, so, my very first player on the Mount Rushmore for the Cincinnati Reds is Pete Rose.
Making a guest appearance from hell, it's Pete Rose, the second baseman, which always wore red for some reason, and I wonder why.
Oh my God, that's horrible, James. That's horrible.
He's a devil. He used to sleep with 15-year-old girls. I don't want to hear it.
4,256. I mean, that's all you got to hear. That's it. Like, he is the hit king. He's a Major League Baseball hit king. Hustling. I mean, what can you say? The thing about Pete Rose, and this is the so frustrating thing, is like just look at the picture, dude. Like, find me ball players like that. That's just it. Like, find me that guy.
Literally, I look at that picture and I think Bryce Harper. Long hair, Phillies uniform, diving anywhere. It's Bryce Harper.
Back-to-back World Series champion. What do I say? MVP. I mean, what? One of the best players in Major League Baseball history. Best hits. Again, I think Ichiro, if you sit there and you want to compare, if you want to do the whole add the Negro League to the stats thing, let's add the Japanese League to the stats thing, and Ichiro's the best hitter I've ever seen as far as a base hit hitter. Pete Rose is still the hit king. But it's don't disregard the Japanese hits and don't disregard what he could have done, but it's a whole lot of what coulda, woulda, whatever. Yeah. Pete Rose, the hit king, incredible hustling. He just killed his own, history by gambling and all that stuff. And there's still a lot of things we don't know about it. But again, 13 All-Star games, like 3 batting title. I mean, amazing, just amazing all around.
Hey, LeBron, you want to talk about legacy? That's a guy with a legacy, and he never mentioned the word legacy. Just letting you know.
Did Pete Rose sit out an All-Star game and not tell people until like 2 hours before the All-Star game?
No, he just plowed the catcher in the All-Star game and ruined his career.
Exactly.
All right, who do you got next?
Arguably one of the best catchers of all time, Johnny Bench.
Johnny Bench, the man behind the plate, the man who had big hands, could hold many, many balls in his hand. Just a great, great hitter.
Great hitter, great behind the plate. And obviously when you have World Series champion teams, you always got to look at the catcher and say, who's their catcher? And you're always going to find an incredible leader. catcher. Obviously, 10 Gold Gloves, 2,158 games behind the plate. God, I go catch like one. My kid's warming up in the bullpen, and my knees hurt. 389 home runs, 1,376 RBIs. National League MVP, 2-time MVP. I mean, the dude just did it all. Big Red Machine. Big Red Machine doesn't happen if you don't have a catcher like that.
Yep. Up next, the man with the podcast, Joe Rogan.
Morgan.
Oh, Joe Morgan. I'm sorry. Tell me about Joe Morgan.
Joe Morgan, obviously just another incredible part of the Big Red Machine. I hate picking players that were all kind of part of the same time frame. But the problem is like these dudes, they're all-time dudes, all-time great on TV. Joe Morgan, just love hearing him talk and everything. Second baseman, he played for Cincinnati for 8 years, so not as long as as the other two, as Johnny Bench and as Pete Rose. But the guy was just amazing. MVP awards, everything. Joe, like, there's nothing he couldn't really do as a second baseman. Yes, he didn't play his whole career there, but just an absolutely amazing man, amazing career, and again, part of the Big Red Machine.
And what an amazing broadcaster in his career after baseball. Just, smooth. I love Joe Morgan as a broadcaster. I miss watching him as much as I did in the 90s. It's two
MVP seasons. They won the World Series both of those years.
He sucked.
He just sucked.
He was terrible. All right. And finally, the last player on your Mount Rushmore, Mr. Barry Larkin.
Yes. Obviously one of the best shortstops of our generation. The thing about Barry Larkin was always really interesting to me. He kind of got underplayed or underappreciated when you compared him to some of the other 90s shortstops. Incredible player, but he was just so consistent and so good. Like, you look at the end of his career, like the dude almost hit 379 stolen bases, almost 1,000 RBIs, MVP, 3 Gold Gloves. But that's a weird generation to talk about Gold Gloves too, because there were so many good shortstops, and Vizquel got a whole lot of love during that time and kind of overshadowed everybody as far as defensively. I know he was National League versus American League, but he was just so good. It didn't matter. There was a ball hit and done. It was always done. He wasn't the flashiest, but you always knew he was so good, constantly 12-time All-Star, 9-time Silver Slugger. That's the thing kind of jumps out. We talk about a lot of shortstops around that time. He was a 9-time Silver Slugger, which is the best hitter in the position. On the National League side.
It's funny, you had Cal, and then the very next generation, I would put Barry Larkin in there. And then after that is when you got the A-Rod, Jeter, Nomar Garciaparra group. I know they overlapped a little bit, but Barry was getting a little older, and those guys were super young. They never got to play each other in their peak, but that's how I look at the progression of that position.
It's interesting. I agree with you.
All right. Let's go. Who is your first one out?
First one out. I think other people would probably argue that they're in. If you're in the analytics, if you're in analytics, you'd probably argue that he's on the list. I generally don't think he's on the list. I think he did a great job of figuring out how to analytically was a darling, but never a big difference maker as far as took a team to another level or anything like that. Joey Votto.
Yeah. I got to meet Joey Votto in his rookie year. Really nice guy. Even bought him lunch when he came up to MLB.com. Super sweet guy, but you're absolutely right. Really, really good player, but in my opinion was never on that top echelon. I kind of put him in that same category as Evan Longoria, the face of the team, but just never became that superstar.
Yeah. And that's the thing. He was always really, really good. I mean, the dude's got 356 home runs, 1,100 RBIs, almost 500 or 450, 60 doubles, 6 All-Star games, an MVP, 11 Gold Gloves. He did it all. But he was never a player when you stepped up to the plate and you're like, oh, fuck. Not Joey Votto. You're like, oh, damn it, Joey Votto, he's going to get a hit. You're like, oh, he's going to work in the bat. You're never all right, outfield, move back. Like, let's hope for the best type of thing. He was so good, but like, again, he always needed somebody around him. He always needed another guy. Like he always needed somebody else. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer because analytically, like he's the darling of that next generation of analytics on the hitting side.
I wouldn't vote for him.
Just wait. He might be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I'm not saying he's not, but I wouldn't vote for him. And in fact, I will say that the guy who had his position before him was a scarier player. I would actually be more afraid of Adam Dunn at the plate than I would be Joey Votto.
1,000%. Votto a lot better first baseman, and Votto much better hitter. But Dunn, without a doubt, Dunn stepped to the plate. I didn't have a problem with like a Dunn guy because, like, for me, he had a bigger swing and I'm going to strike him out. But about 95% of Major League Baseball would have gone, oh, fuck, like Adam Dunn. Like, God damn it, not this guy. And Todd Frazier, too. Like, there's other guys like that you'd go, oh, fuck, like, I don't want to face him. Joey Votto, you're like, shit, I don't want to face him if the base is loaded. God, no. Runner second. God, no. But, like, tie ball game in the ninth, okay, he'll be on first. He's going to work in a bat. He's going to fight. And but again, he's Joe Mauer to me. He's not Morneau. He's Joe Mauer, where I got to go, all right, just don't hit it out. Like, you're good. Like, just give a base hit. You're going to give up a base hit to Joe. Like, but then he's not going to steal. All that stuff. Anyways.
Just limit his damage.
Great guy. I played with him. Like, awesome. Nothing against him. It's just they didn't win a World Series. And and there's a reason why they didn't have any of those teams where you're just like, oh, damn, the Reds. Because he was a great player. He wasn't a generational player.
And finally, we're going to go to the guy that could make the Mount Rushmore if he continues on the path. And if you don't know who this guy is, you're an absolute moron. Elly De La Cruz.
Elly De La Cruz. I mean, again, generational type. This is a generational type of talent. Now, if he had Joey Votto's eye at the plate, he would already be Bobby Witt. He would already be Gunnar Henderson. Like, he would be on that level of not just talent, but getting it done. And that's the thing about Elly. He just needs to learn that next level of like maturing and becoming a ball player and becoming like all around. Just make mistakes. If he just stop making young mistakes, like, he's gonna be one of the best players in baseball history because he has talent that like we haven't seen. And like, you look at him and you go, no one else can do that.
Nope.
No one else can do what he does. Players are just more rounded. Like, Bobby Witt's a better player. Gunnar Henderson's a better baseball player, but they can't do what Elly De La Cruz can do. It's just Elly De La Cruz can't do that every time. And that's what he's got to figure out. Elly De La Cruz got to figure out how to be his floor, just be consistent.
Yeah.
Because his floor consistent will be those guys.
Yeah.
Then he's got to figure out where his ceiling is. And like, we don't know where that ceiling is. Like, we thought Ohtani was good, and then we saw the ceiling and we went, oh shit.
Yeah. Well, I knew it from the very beginning. Yes. But yeah, if he can raise his floor when he does have those great games where he reaches his ceiling, he's top 5 player in baseball.
He's one of the fastest players in baseball, has the best arm in baseball, and hits the ball the hardest. What the hell? That's like, what the hell? Like, that's Bo Jackson.
Who's the stupid schmuck on the Dolphins, the wide receiver? Tyreek Hill. I want to see Tyreek Hill go up against Elly De La Cruz in a foot race.
Yeah, I give it to Elly De La Cruz, especially if you have to turn once.
Yeah,
Elly De La Cruz. I bet Elly De La Cruz will beat Tyreek Hill without a problem. I think Elly De La Cruz, like, that's the thing about it. It's like, you look at it and go, God, what can't he do?
Yeah,
and then you realize what he can't do is consistency yet.
And
he's ahead of O'Neal Cruz. What?
Sorry to interrupt you. And by the way, baseball, you want to promote your game? Get Elly De La Cruz to go up against Tyreek Hill in a 40-yard dash. That's the kind of stuff that's going to get you all over Instagram and appealing to the 17-year-olds, the 15-year-olds instead of the 40-year-olds.
Get Tyreek Hill to come to a baseball field and do it. Don't in the middle of the year, whatever, when he's full warm, you're not going to worry about injuries or something like that. Have him come to a baseball field and promote it, or go to a football field. Have Elly go to the football field and have the NFL promote it. That's what you need. You need to use these other leagues and be like, dude, like, when you look back at like those slam dunk contests with like Barry Bonds and stuff, when he's doing like 360 or like whatever dunks, and you're like, whoa, how did I know this? Like, you realize like these guys are incredible. That's what people need to know is like how much. I think like football and basketball kind of look at baseball and go, they're not as athletic as us. And then you watch them on the court and go, oh, watch them on the field and go, oh, they kind of do everything we do. And so, yeah.
By the way, you mentioned slam dunk contest. I want to give a shout out to my boy Seth McClung, his nephew Mac McClung.
Is that his? I was wondering. That's cool as hell.
Yeah, that's Seth's nephew. Seth's nephew, Mac McClung, who won for the third time in a row.
Hell, Seth, like,
what?
How did he get like left out like on the athletic ability?
Hey, dude, McClung could throw 101 at one point, like
without a doubt. But he wasn't 360 dunking over a car.
Whatever. They're both pros. I wish I could be a pro.
I mean, I couldn't dunk over anything. I dunked like twice in my life, and they had to be alley-oops.
All right, last thing I just want to talk about because we're going a little long. We got a comment here from Dirty Nails Not Pink. Close. Yes. What's wrong with closing? Too much drama, self-promotion, Stroman. The reason why he's not closing is because he can't close. He doesn't have the velocity. They would tee off on him like it's Christmas.
He's not good enough. He's not good enough as a closer. That's the thing about it. Like, he's not good enough as a closer. He'll never be. Like, he could have been, but that back when he was, that was when he was a good starter. And, like, he's still not a bad starter, guys. Like, he's a good starter. He's just not the fifth man of the Yankees, maybe. He's, like, again, like, if there's an injury, I am not complaining having Marcus Stroman. The problem is what Marcus Stroman you need to get. Healthy Marcus Stroman, fun Marcus Stroman, great, happy Marcus Stroman. I don't know. Like,
pissed off Marcus Stroman, ruining the clubhouse Marcus Stroman.
Yeah, and that's my also problem too, is you're buying in personality where, like, the best thing a reporter can say about Marcus Stroman was like, hey, like, he was a good teammate last year. That should be like, you shouldn't even have to say that. Like, that's just the borderline to get in the door. But when you have Cole, Max Fried, Carlos Rendon, Luis Gil, and Clark Schmidt, like, you got your five. But like Clark Schmidt, like, he could earn a job over Clark Schmidt. Like, he's not for sure locked in. Like Fried could get hurt any moment. Rendon could get hurt any moment, and Cole could get hurt any moment. Heel could get hurt any moment, and like they could. So Marcus Stroman, if I'm him, I'm like, I'm just biting my tongue. Like, I will have a job and I'll earn it.
Yep. All right. And finally, the reason why we know he can't be a closer is because we are the closers. And make sure that you tell your friends about closers. Make sure you watch every week. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and tell us what you think in the comments. Talk to you later, guys. Thank you.